Hello everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope that you're all doing good tonight. We've got a couple of interesting topics to talk about. I'll admit, a couple of these really make me angry, and a couple of them are just so dumb. I can't believe that I legitimately have to talk about these topics. So, tonight we're going to be talking about 7C's admitting to being heavy-handed with censorship of Classroom of the Elite, jobless reincarnation. Now, I talk about anime a lot, I talk about manga a lot, but it's very rare when I can actually talk about a company or a group of localizers, translators, admitting that they were heavy-handed with changing content, and they're trying, or they're saying they're going to try to fix the situation. That's not something that usually happens. Usually, like, localizers say they've done something, that they've been heavy-handed with censorship, they've changed a bunch of stuff, but they don't usually come forward and say things like, you know, we feel kind of bad about it now, we never meant for it to be this way, one thing led to another. Of course, all translations aren't going to be exactly one-to-one, but we see that we did a terrible job and we are going to try to fix the situation. That's something that doesn't happen often. We're going to be talking about, oh no, Google Stadia again. Guys, I love the Google Stadia news, truly. I think that this is the most hilarious shit I've ever heard of. Truly, I don't understand why, how, who, what, when. I don't know who decided they would launch Google Stadia the way that it was. And ever since the terrible launch, everything leading up to this day has been a disaster. But now, Journey to the Savage Planet is broken on Stadia, and there's nobody to fix it because Google closed their internal studios and fired developers. Guys, you can't make this shit up. You legitimately can't. It says Google acquired developer Typhoon, then made its staff redundant. We all remember just a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that Google closed its internal studios. And now we're hearing this, that the Google acquired developer group can't fix a game because they fired everyone from it. We're living in a clown world, truly. We're also going to talk about an Illinois representative wanting to ban all violent video games to curb violence. Now, a lot of adults, a lot of people kind of know this thing called the First Amendment. And most adults in the gaming industry know about the case that happened back in 2011 that solidified that video games fell under the First Amendment. But of course, a lawmaker now wants to ban all violent video games to curb violence because they think that that's really going to help a problem, which is absolutely absurd. I talk about it all the time. There is no link to real-world violence in video games. Short term, there have been some studies that have said, yeah, short term people can become a little bit hostile, but nothing with long-term effects, nothing that would, you know, make a situation lead to some huge problem. And this has been a debate for 20 years now, 25 years now. It's been a debate for a very long time, but of course, you know, scientific evidence be damned. Apparently, you know, banning all violent video games will curb violence, according to these people. And I want to talk about a little bit of news in the Amber Heard Aquaman 2 story, because I've talked about this story quite a few times now. There's a petition that of many people who want Emilia Clarke to replace Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2 just because of everything terrible that's happened with Amber Heard. We all know the situation with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, which I will read about, but A lot of people have called for her to be replaced, fired, and a new report is saying that Emilia Clarke is actually replacing Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2. And it's coming from a Forbes article, which it could be a very big mistake. Or maybe they know something that we just don't know. So we're going to talk about those topics tonight. But before we start, hello everyone. Welcome to the live stream. I hope that you're all doing good. It's going to be an interesting night of topics. I've been excited to talk about many of these topics, such as the stupidity of the Google Stadia situation. And when I saw the situation happen with the Illinois representative, that is also a stupid topic I was looking forward to discussing. This is the censorship era. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of censorship that's going on, a lot of censorship that people want. A lot of people think censorship is good or okay, which is absolutely disgusting, and it's not okay. But there are a lot of people that think censorship's okay. You know, if I don't like something, let's try to get it banned, which it shouldn't be that way. But they won't censor the violence in games that clearly push their agenda, like Joel getting his head bashed. Yeah, well, you know, why would we, you know, try to ban violence in games that make lots of money? Why would we do that? Why would we do that? We could never. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Video games aren't the problem. The real issue is parents who cannot properly raise their brats. Well, we're not even just talking about kids here. We're talking about people in general. I mean, we're not talking about just violence in, you know, adolescence. We're not just talking about violence in kids. We're talking about violence in kids, adults. I mean, someone could be, you know, 60 years old and play video games. 50 years old and play video games. And then, you know, if they do something bad, people try to blame it on video games. It's not just in adolescence. But I get where you're coming from. Who's trying to ban my weeb stuff now? We're not talking about an anime being banned, but we are going to be talking about an anime that was heavily censored that companies actually admitting. Oh, Sony has censored many anime-style games, but left those two scenes in The Last of Us 2. Yeah, I mean, Sony's a bunch of hypocrites. I mean, that's not new. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Most companies are filled with hypocrites, unfortunately. Companies do what's best for their bottom line, and it's like, why would Sony censor their own developers' games? Why would Sony tell their own developers, hey, you can't release this content on the platform if they know it's going to make them money? I mean, they censor third-party developers, Japanese developers, but not themselves, and I think that that's just common sense. I know with the topic I discussed in today's video earlier, people were saying, like, well, why does Sony leave in things like The Last of Us Part 2's violence and Mortal Kombat's violence and things like that, but censor things like Japanese games? And that's because if we look at something like The Last of Us Part 2, first of all, it's a first-party title. It's their own game, basically. I mean, basically is, right? Like, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. There's no way they're gonna censor first-party games that make them a shit ton of money, or exclusive games. And I mean, if a game's exclusive to a platform, it's basically their own game. So it's like, it's either coming from their own developers. They're not going to censor their own developers. If it's first-party title that they have exclusive rights to that no one else does, they're not going to censor that. And they're not going to censor big giant titles like Mortal Kombat that make shit tons of money. None of those things would make sense. So when people say things like, why is Sony, not censoring Mortal Kombat? Well, it's a giant franchise. Why is Sony not censoring, like, The Last of Us Part 2 and, the sex scenes and the violence? Well, it's because they know they can make money out of it. They saw how well the first game sold. Yeah, honestly, censorship is something that needs to stop. Thank you. That'd be great. I wish I could just say that and it would happen, but we know that's not going to happen. I hope the Japanese developers start fighting back. The problem is that I mentioned it in earlier's video. When it comes to like Japanese developers or any developers, they're afraid of not getting their game released at all. So they're willing to self-censor content and change content so that the game gets released so that they can make money. I mean, if you can't release it on any platform, you're not going to make money, and they're afraid of not making money. Now, there's people like me and you that would definitely purchase it no matter what platform it was on, if it got banned from a Sony platform, because we want to support it and we want to say, you know, F censorship. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who don't think that way, and they're still missing out on a huge market there. Sony seems to be deprioritizing the Japanese market in recent years. Yeah, and it's funny because I've talked about this in past videos as well. They've even come out and said, oh, we care about the Japanese market. We love the Japanese market. We'll never abandon it, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Even though they have. They've basically, like, put the region on a back burner. They focused on, you know, the United States, the West, the United States, and Europe, and they don't care about the Japanese market as much anymore. They're basically, like, they get the thirds. Like, they get, like, scraps. Even look at, like, console production. You know, Sony said, like, they're trying to get consoles to United States, Europe, not really Japan. It's gross that we see this happening, and we know developers are going through bad situations, but at the same time, it's a business. You know, these developers are too afraid to not release games at all, so they say they'll self-censor games so that they can be on the PlayStation. Samurai Kagura Burst Renewal was about to be released, but they had the intimacy mode removed because people complained. Yeah, I mean, that was like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. That was a while ago, but yeah, I mean, that did happen. We found out only a little bit before release that they removed the intimacy mode, and that became, you know, quite a situation because there were a lot of people who talked about it and brought it up, obviously, because it's Senran Kagura. And then one of the lead people on Senran Kagura, I don't remember if it was one of the writers or developer, one of the CEOs of the company, I don't remember, but he left the Senran Kagura project, and he literally said it's becoming harder and harder to make these types of games because of Sony, and he quit. And that sucks to see. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head. I talked about it when it happened. I don't remember exactly who it was. It was someone to do with Samurai Kagura. He basically left the franchise and said, I'm done. Our games are getting harder and harder to make, and I don't want to be part of it anymore. It sucks. It sucks. Alright, you guys. So let's get started on the first topic of the night. A little bit of a censorship topic. 7 Seas admits to heavy-handed censorship of Classroom of the Elite and Mushoku, I said that right the first time, Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. So 7 Seas Entertainment has apologized to fans for taking a very heavy-handed editorial approach towards Classroom of the Elite and Tensei Jobless Reincarnation after it was discovered that the independent manga publisher had heavily censored both respective series. Now, I talk about censorship a lot here on the channel, whether it's anime, manga, video games, entertainment, movies, TV, whatever it may be.
Christopher donated $10.
Hey, thank you for the $10 donation. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you. I talk about censorship a lot here on the channel. It's important to me to bring up. It's important to me to bring attention to. But very rarely do I talk about a company apologizing for censorship and also admitting what they've done, taking accountability for it in a way which is very, very unusual. It's not something that usually happens. So, this says 7 Seas censorship regarding these two titles first came to widespread attention last month when, following the release of the Classroom of the Elite light novel's 7th volume, fans noticed that massive amounts of text had been completely omitted from the book's English language release. According to a number of comparisons between the official release and a fan translation of the book's original Japanese text provided by a user on the subreddit, 7 Seas censorship saw numerous instances of text being outright removed from the light novel. We're not even talking about them like altering things slightly, maybe changing words around to be like, we hear all the time in anime, they'll like change a word so it's less offensive. Maybe they'll change the word idiot to just like dumb or something. They'll try to change words around slightly so that they're less offensive and so people don't get outraged over them, but they completely removed tons of text and conversations, basically just because they wanted to. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's not even because it couldn't be translated properly, but it says in one scene where one of the characters, Kay, recounts the relentless bullying she endured during her middle school years, 7 Seas removed nearly 2 paragraphs of text in which the heroine spoke to the fear and distress the schoolyard abuse had sparked within her. Official 7 Seas translation: I was freezing. Icy water dripped from my hair. They've dumped water over me 4 times now. My uniform was soaked right through. Even my underwear was wet. But my chilled body didn't scare me. It was the ice in my heart that did. The fan translation removed text in bold. It says, it chilled me down to my core. The chill of the water dripping from my hair. They've dumped water on me 4 times now. It says, it's the cold that grips my heart. A darkness deep and dark enough to make you resent the world reared its head. Why am I being bullied? Those fears gradually changed. Why am I even alive? What did I do wrong? Clearly you can see the reason that it seems why they removed these paragraphs was because it's talking about what could be seen as sensitive material to certain people, because it's talking about bullying and her going through a hard time mentally and all of this as it says abuse, all of this abuse that she kind of went through by people, just like this bullying. So it says, shortly after the changes to the Classroom of the Elite were brought to light, fans of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation found that 7 Seas Entertainment had made similar omissions to the text of the series' first 2 volumes. As reported on the subreddit, the official subreddit, and personally confirmed by Anime's news network, these changes included a scene which depicted the protagonist groping and attempting to pull off the panties of a sleeping girl, being replaced with him trying to pull her shirt over her stomach to prevent her from catching a cold, and several instances wherein the company completely removed references to rape. Again, we can see what they changed. It's not like they just, took out specific things or changed specific things because things don't translate. Now, I just want to say that I understand when it comes to translations, sometimes things don't sound perfect. I mean, let's look at, some anime titles. There are some anime titles out there that are directly translated that are 10 words long, and it's like, why didn't you just title it something slightly different that'd be a little bit more understandable, a little bit easier for everyone to understand? But we're not talking about a situation like that. If we were talking about a situation where they slightly changed words but they meant the same thing, that I can more so understand, because that's not necessarily censorship. It's just trying to translate it accurately, but in a way that people can understand. We're talking about them completely removing tons of dialogue, paragraphs of dialogue, very important pieces to a story and to someone's back character, because it's, references to rape and references to bullying and things that some people find offensive and would be triggered basically by. It says another notable change from Volume 1 involved removing references to rape, as I said. It says, in response to these changes being brought to light, Seven Seas issued a statement to Anime News Network apologizing for their heavy-handed editorial approach in certain portions of the text regarding Classroom of the Elite, announcing a re-edited release of the series' 7th volume, and noting that they are currently re-evaluating their editorial choices for the other series. This is actually something we don't see a lot of. Companies apologizing, but it's not even just apologizing, because sometimes companies will apologize and it's half-assed and they don't really care. But apologizing and then saying, we are going to re-edit the series, and then we're going to re-release it, and it's going to be more accurate to the original source material that we were working with, the story that was originally told. And they have a lot of respect from me over this, because a company apologizing again is one thing, but saying we want people to be able to enjoy the series the way, you know, it was originally written, we're going to re-edit it, is something that we don't see a lot of companies do. I'm sure, unfortunately for them, they're going to face outrage for this. The people who it was edited for to appeal to in the first place are now going to be mad that it's changed, and they're now going to be mad that it is being unchanged, basically, and that they are releasing the series, or re-releasing it, re-editing it, and re-releasing it with all of that content intact. So it's like they thought by censoring themselves and this product, they wouldn't face any backlash, but they faced backlash, and now they're uncensoring it, but they're gonna face more backlash. Maybe you shouldn't have censored it in the first place and just stuck with the source material and just stuck with the original story. Is it that hard to do? Because now you're going to have all types of people upset with you. The people who want censorship, the people who don't want censorship. But it says the localization process, especially with novels, involves multiple stages of editing. After we receive the raw translation, the process of creating smooth and readable English language prose often involve condensing or rearranging text, so line-by-line translation comparisons are not always one-to-one. But the situation here is that we're not even talking about them changing dialogue. They completely removed the dialogue so that people wouldn't be upset. But that's all that I had to discuss with this topic. I don't know, you know, if people are even going to give them another chance. Because while I do think it's good they're re-releasing it with the original content, it still sucks that they were kind of appealing to that group of people in the first place who would want it censored. Because we saw that they went, well, we're gonna just, you know, change things to hopefully not piss people off. And by a company doing that, they're setting themselves up for failure, because you're pandering to a certain group of people in the first place. Why not just stay with the source material? You might have some people who are mad at you that you didn't censor those scenes, but at least you wouldn't, like, wish-wash like this. Companies, music's too loud. It's like turned down like a ton. I don't think I can turn it down anymore. Literally, like it's turned down. You guys, it's still loud. Cause like I had turned it down like 2 times since you've been saying it. How's the volume now with the music volume? It seems like it's gonna be quiet now, but maybe not. It's one of those situations, because I like to give companies multiple chances, but at the same time, we've got this situation where they censored it, now they're uncensoring it. Do you want to kind of give them that chance and kind of trust them again, basically? But that's all that I really had to discuss for this topic. Let us move on to the next topic in just a second. It does sound like you're having to shout. I'm not shouting. I'm just talking. Why don't they just release uncensored and censored versions and make both groups happy? They could do that, yeah. I mean, if they already have the censored version or the toned down version, whatever we want to call it, I think that it's fine to just leave it up at that point. Like, if you already paid people for it, you already, yep, music is loud, I turned it down, if it's still loud, I mean, I don't know. It's low. It's really low. It's way lower than it usually is. I don't want it to be too low, though. If they've already paid people for the censored version and they've already got that work done, they might as well just leave both versions up. And I do know that this does happen with some anime. Not, like, every anime series, but it does happen with some anime series where you've got a censored version and an uncensored version, or a toned down version and a not toned down version. And I guess if you've already paid people for it, you might as well leave it up. But it's at the same time, it's like, I don't want to support censorship, so I'm not going to tell them to leave it up. Like, oh, you better leave it up, because clearly I don't support censorship. But, cool. It's just kind of rough for translators. I understand when they're trying to translate, and there are things that you have to cut out, but we're not just talking about, like, changing the meaning of a word slightly, or, like, changing the word from, like I said, a good comparison's, like, from idiot to just dumb. We're talking about completely removing paragraphs and backstory to people's characters, just so they hopefully don't piss people off. That, to me, is like, well, I mean, clearly we know where their intentions lied, because they had censored it in the first place. I don't know. I mean, I get why people would be happy to support them now because they changed their mind and they apologized, but at the same time, I understand why people also wouldn't, because now it's like, well, clearly you censored it in the first place for certain people. Why would we trust you to not censor products in the future? And I mean, why do you deserve, like, our attention, basically, our money, our clicks to your products? So, with that being said, let us move on to the next topic of the evening. Yeah, this is why any kind of Western translator dubbing is the worst example. Oh yeah, Dragon Maid, yeah. Dragon Maid's pretty bad, yeah, pretty bad. Yeah, it's a shame. Alright, you guys, so let's move on to the next topic of the night. Now, I've got a little bit more Google Stadia news to talk about. And it's a fucking hilarious topic, to be honest, because it's just, how does a company screw up this much? How does a giant company, let me mind you, screw up so royally that they end up in situations like this? So Journey to the Savage Planet is broken on Stadia. Okay, something that happens to games. Games are created, they have bugs, they have glitches, they break, there's problems. But now, there's nobody left to fix it. So last month, Journey to the Savage Planet made its Stadia debut. I never gave Stadia a chance. I didn't care about Stadia. I thought Stadia launched. It had a lot of problems. I thought maybe in the future Stadia would be a little bit better. Maybe they'd fix Stadia up a bit more, be a bit more acceptable. Maybe I'd give it a chance then if it really survived, if it drew its course and everyone was really enjoying it. Clearly it didn't. Clearly people aren't enjoying it. Unfortunately, though, the sci-fi adventure is broken, and Google just fired all of the developers who could have fixed it. Why would Google do something that fucking dumb? Why does Google do things like this? Like, why would you fire developers that are part of projects that you may need in the future? So among various crashes and lockups, Savage Planet's Stadia version has a particularly nasty main menu freeze that can make the game effectively unplayable. But when searching for a fix to this issue, a Redditor quickly discovered that nobody seems to know who's responsible for looking after the game. Posting screenshots from various channels, Google first told them to contact the game's publisher 505, but 505 explained that it isn't responsible for publishing Savage Planet on Stadia. That responsibility falls to Google Stadia Games and Entertainment, a studio Google shuttered this month. I had talked about this. I don't know why their website page just broke. Talked about this earlier in the month when it happened. Google Stadia is closing its internal studios. So Google announced that it was closing its internal Stadia game development studios and shifting its focus to the further development of Stadia's streaming platform and technology instead. They said, given our focus on building on the proven technology of Stadia as well as deepening our business partnerships, we've decided that we will not be investing further in bringing exclusive content from our internal development team, SG&E, beyond any near-term planned games. If you have games that fall under your developers to fix, to manage, to take care of, why would you fire them? I understand that Google ended up saying, we don't think it's going to work. Publishing games isn't what we want to do anymore. We just want to stick with having a platform for games. We want to stick with, bringing exclusive content in and not creating games. And okay, I get that. I get that. But why would you fire literally every single person that could work on things like Savage, Journey to the Savage Planet? I was going to call it Savage Planet, but Journey to the Savage Planet, when this game is still on your platform and you're responsible for it. If you are supposed to be responsible for it, don't you think you should leave people on a project? It's like, how could they ever expect people to give them money and trust when they can't do anything right? It's been a year and 2 months, basically, since Stadia launched, and it's been disaster after disaster after disaster for Google, for just Stadia, the team in general. It says, posting in the comments to the above Reddit thread, a Stadia community manager claimed that Google is actively working for a solution to these issues. Well, when are we gonna get it then? I'm not a Stadia player, but when are players going to get it then? Because clearly they've tried to shoot people through the ringer. They've tried to put people through the ringer because they keep telling people, oh, go to 505. They're the ones responsible, but 505 is saying we're not responsible. And now Google's like, yeah, we're going to work on a fix for it. It says, hi, folks. I understand how frustrating the situation is, and I'm very sorry for the delayed response. We're actively working with our partners to identify a fix, and I will do my best to pass updates along. Stadia's Twitter account echoed that sentiment, similarly stating it was working with a partner publisher in response to concerns. But considering 505's denial of involvement with the game's Stadia port, there's plenty of confusion over which publisher Google is talking about. Of course, Google wouldn't say the publisher, who they're working with, because there is no one. It says developer Typhoon Studios was one of the first to be acquired by Google back in 2019. with Savage Planet being the closest Stadia had to a first-party game, despite coming out on PC and consoles last year. But that also meant that when Google shut down its internal studios, Typhoon's employees were fired as part of the roughly 150 people. This is awful. I am so disappointed with Google. Now, we know that Google releases projects, it goes nowhere, they throw it into oblivion, hope a black hole will suck it up, hope that Thanos will snap it out of existence, hope it won't exist anymore. But we all remember stuff like this. So Google, you put out Stadia, and it's been a fucking nightmare. Everything with Stadia has been garbage. When you decide in a couple of years after you've closed Stadia down and Stadia's not a thing anymore, you decide to put out new gaming products, whether it's games or a console or accessories, we're going to remember this. We are not going to forget this BS, and we are not going to support you when you release something. It finishes up with a week before those layoffs began. Stadia boss Phil Harrison reportedly told employees, this is disgusting, that the team was making great progress. Stadia is now the target of a class action lawsuit after consumers claim they were misled over the platform's 4K capabilities. Good. Honestly, you know what? Maybe once they're sued and they lose, they'll get a taste of their own medicine. Maybe they'll realize, wow, I don't think we should scam consumers anymore, guys. I think we should give them actually good products that work at least half of the time, because Stadia doesn't work half of the time. It works like a quarter of a quarter of a quarter of a time. Stadia's awful. Stadia's terrible. Stadia is like one of the worst things like in the gaming industry. Stadia, Ouya, all of it. It's garbage. Stadia's bad. That's all I'm going to rant about when it comes to Stadia. I've talked about Stadia plenty in the past. I'm sure I'll talk about Stadia again in the future. When Stadia finally dies, I will be doing a celebration live stream. I will be happy, because this is the disaster that just keeps on giving. It's like this is the never-ending situation, and it only gets worse and worse. I didn't even buy Stadia, and I feel bad for the people who did buy Stadia. So, yeah. We'll move on to the next topic in just a minute. If Tommy Tallarico ends up making more money than Stadia, I'll laugh. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about the Amico anymore. Obviously, I think the idea of the Amico's cool. I think the general concept of the Amico's cool. I'm personally someone who would acquire one when it came out. But I think that in television has lost a lot of people's trust. And that's not just because of Tommy Tallarico, but I think a lot of people don't trust in television anymore because of Tommy Tallarico. I think it kind of goes both ways. I think that on one hand, Tommy Tallarico is a really cool guy, but he obviously wants to sell a product and he wants to be a successful businessman, and I'm not saying that he's not one already, but when it comes to strictly in television, he wants his product to succeed and he doesn't want to lose consumers. But at the same time, when, I'm a consumer and I expected a product a year ago, I would expect to have the product already. Because they did move the Intellivision release date to October 10th, 2021, but even the Intellivision, I said this before and I'll say it again. I think that if the Intellivision Amico had launched a couple of months ago when it was supposed to, back in October, I think it would have sold like freaking hotcakes, and I think that the Amico would still be selling like hotcakes because people want the new consoles. They want a PlayStation 5, they want a Series X, and the Amico clearly doesn't replace the Series X or a PlayStation 5. But if people are looking for a console or games to play, and that's on store shelves, people would be buying it if they can't buy a Switch, a PS5, a Series X. Hey Ryan, Stadia is going to shut down before I get an internet connection good enough to play it. Ryan, you didn't buy one, did you? Ryan, you didn't buy the Stadia package, right? You didn't buy the Chromecast and the controller, right? I swear. If you're about to say, I did, and I was waiting for my internet connection to get better, heaven have mercy. Tommy seems like he can't take criticism. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think that Tommy Tallarico has taken a lot of criticism, and I think that he'll continue to take criticism. But I also think that he's no, I didn't. Oh, whew. You got lucky there. I was just about to ban your ass. I think that Tommy Tallarico can take criticism, because he has taken a lot of criticism, and he's going to continue to take a lot of criticism. But I think that the thing is that he wants his product to succeed very badly, which isn't bad, because people should want their product to succeed. But it's rough to say, because it's kind of like, in a way, he doesn't understand why people are upset, or at least he doesn't voice why he thinks that people are upset. Or like it's like he doesn't voice that he understands that people are just upset. If I knew how you would react, I would have lied. I literally would have timed you out, and that would be it, Ryan. I would time you out every time I saw you from now on. You can't say I censored you, because I didn't ban you fully. But like, time out? Oh, he did something wrong. Oh no. Oh no. Stadia, we can't talk about her. We don't know her. I want to make a fake, like, Twitter account or something. It's like Stadia Girl or something, and just fangirl over Stadia all the time. It's such a joke. It's such a joke. Honestly, if I knew Stadia would have been such a joke, I would have bought one. Just to partake in the joke. I would have. No one else is buying, you know, units of Stadia. The Stadia Chromecast that's not even branded. I would have done it. Okay, guys. Moving on to the next topic of the night is actually something that I think is, again, absolutely hilarious, because there are people out there who don't understand what rights are, and, you know, things like constitutional rights. So, I don't think I have to say this, but I'll say it again. People are always trying to get video games banned. People are always blaming real-world violence on video games, and there's no scientific evidence to back that up. I'm a girl of science. I like evidence, and no one seems to have evidence that real-world violence and video games correlate, because they don't. And there are constantly politicians trying to say that there's a correlation, trying to say video games are bad, games need to be banned, violence needs to be banned in games, or even we've seen movies, even though it's not usually movies, because, oh, we can't touch that industry. But an Illinois rep wants to ban all violent video games to curb violence. So it says, an Illinois legislator is looking to ban the sale of all violent video games in the state, according to amendments that would adjust a 2012 law, which currently keeps retailers from selling certain video games, or violent games, to minors. See, the point of something like the ESRB, in case these people don't know, is that the ESRB is there to rate games. So, like, I don't know, let's look at this. If a game has a big M on it, that means it's mature. That means it's not technically made for anyone under the age of 17. There's these things called ratings. That's why the ESRB was created. PEGI, CERO, plenty of ratings boards around the world. But it's so people, I guess I should say parents, so that parents can judge, should my kid play this video game? And then they can look at the box and go, well, you know what? I think this content's fine for my kid. I can purchase it for my kid, or I can decide to not purchase it for my kid. But when you start trying to take away things like video games from adults, and entertainment from adults, that's a whole nother level of effed up. That is a whole nother level of, do you really just want people to laugh in your face? So it says the documents were filed on Friday by Representative Marcus Evans Jr. in response to an increase in carjackings and violent crimes in Chicago. I wonder if he's got any scientific evidence to back up, you know, I want to ban video games because of all these things. I wonder if there's scientific evidence. Guys, whew, there's no carjackings in any other places in, you know, in the United States, only in Illinois, and only because of video games. So House Bill 3531 would prevent the sale of all violent video games in the state. We're not talking from kids. We're not talking from your grandma. Just all violent video games in the state from adults. That is absolutely fucking absurd. As defined in the bill, a violent video game is described as one that allows a user or player to control a character within the video game that is encouraged to perpetuate human-on-human violence in which the player kills or otherwise causes serious physical or psychological harm to other human beings or an animal. We gotta ban Minecraft. That fucking game. Minecraft is the definition of a violent video game. Guys, if you play Minecraft, you are disgusting. You can kill animals, you can kill humans, you kill the villagers, you kill the little pigs, the ducks, the sheep, the cow. You guys are the problem in this world, okay? Because you play Minecraft. Who thought that was first of all, a good definition of a violent video game? And second of all, who thought that anyone would be behind this? Yes, Minecraft is contributing to climate change. Minecraft is sexist and toxic and misogynist. Yeah, fuck Minecraft. That fucking game. Whew. That shit is toxic AF. That is so violent. Terrible. If you support Minecraft, you're a monster. I mean, from this definition, Minecraft will be under that because you can kill the villagers, you kill witches, you can PvP, so you can kill other players, and you can harm an animal. So elsewhere in the amendments, legislators took the changes, a look to change the definition of serious physical harm to include carjacking, among other things. Rates of carjacking have increased across Chicago, with 212 incidents reported to police in January, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. The bill would prohibit the sale of some of these games that promote the activities that we're suffering from in our communities. You can't blame real-life crimes that people are doing on video games. I'd like to point to this article referencing a situation. Here, let me move. Oh, I guess I can't fully move it. Fuck. Sorry, guys. Professional YouTuber. Hey, there we go. So it says, should minors have a constitutional right to realistically violent but fun video games? And I want to go to this section right here. In 2011, the Supreme Court decided Brown v. Entertainment Merchants Association, which held that violent video games were protected speech under the First Amendment. That's it, guys. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, guys. Should I read it again? It says there the court invalidated a California law banning the sale of violent video games to anyone under the age of 18. And the majority found that violent video games are no different than the violence depicted in protected books and movies. The court noted while video games are interactive, some books also allow interaction where readers can choose their own adventure by turning to a certain page, depending on their decision. Yeah. Yeah. It says, though, the majority was not convinced by the studies provided by the state of California showing a connection between exposure to violent video games and harmful effects on children. They found that the research is based on correlation without causation, and the studies suffer from admitted flaws in methodology.
Christopher donated $5.
It says, finally, the court noted that the video game industry established a rating system in order to inform consumers about the game's content, which may make the law unnecessary. I mean, the ESRB was created for a reason. It's so you could rate games. And I know that, you know, we have situations that I've mentioned that, you know, we're strictly about minors, but now we're talking about adults being brought into this. Adults can't play video games. This is what a Supreme Court decided in only 2011, that video games were protected speech under the First Amendment. So this guy's saying we don't need to recognize this case that only happened, 10 years ago. Not even 10 years ago. It says elsewhere in the amendments, I already read this, sorry guys. It says this gets even stupider. A $1,000 fine was proposed for those that sell or rent a violent video game. Guys, I'm selling violent video games. I'm ready for my $1,000 fine. It says the bill will certainly face scrutiny, and in 2011, okay, it even points out, yeah, the Supreme Court said that California legislators could not ban the sale of violent video games to minors, that video games qualify as free speech, as The Verge reported at the time. This is so incredibly important for people to realize, and I don't know why these lawmakers think that they can just, like, get people to forget about these situations. We're talking about the internet. Nothing goes away on the internet. Why would people not remember something that happened 10 years ago? This whole situation is incredibly pathetic and stupid, that he wants violent video games to just be straight up banned. We're not even talking about to minors. We're not even talking about, like, minors not being able to play violent video games, not being able to buy violent video games. We're talking just straight up anyone in the state, even though there is no connection and no link to violent video games making you a violent person in real life. But that's all that I had to discuss with that topic. Absolutely ridiculous situation. I'm floored that we keep seeing this happen. It's like these people don't even try to make a legitimate argument. And I'm not saying that I want video games to be banned, violent, sexy, whatever the content may be. But it makes them look so pathetic when it's like they don't even know how to research anything, or else that was a big situation in 2011. You'd think if you were looking up video games being banned in the United States and there's literally none on a list, you'd know why. If you're saying we should ban violent video games in a state, maybe you should look up why video games aren't banned at all in the United States. Because it's protected, that's why, dumbass. People are so stupid. Oh my gosh. How are people so stupid? Zombies have feelings too, I guess. True, they do. Since how many years they are at it, against for video games? I mean, they've been trying to get video games banned and target video games for like ever now. I mean, politicians do not like video games, and they want video games basically to be destroyed. Simply because a lot of them don't understand video games. And that's what's most sad about it, is it's like, they're not trying to get movies banned. They're not trying to get TV shows banned. Why don't you try to cancel Hollywood? But of course they wouldn't, because it makes a lot of money. And video games make a lot of money too. But it's like they just don't understand video games and why people like video games. So it's like they want to cancel video games. Anyway, thank you, Christopher, for the $5 donation I had missed a couple of minutes ago. Thank you, thank you. They keep trying as a means of wearing people down until no one cares. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's never gonna happen, though. Creative freedom is being suppressed. It is, unfortunately. It's very sad. Not even just as a lover of video games, but as someone who appreciates video games, movies, TV shows, entertainment, everything. It's definitely shitty to see things be targeted so often and so much. Anyway, guys, let's move into the final topic of the night. This is going to be a pretty brief topic because I've talked about the situation with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, Aquaman 2 quite a few times here on the channel. This is nothing new to the channel. I've definitely covered this situation a lot. But I am someone who is committed to seeing the outcome of this situation because we're either going to see Johnny Depp be accepted back into Hollywood and people are finally going to give him another chance, or we're going to see him fall, all because of this one woman, Amber Heard, who ruined his career, at least so far, based off of accusations when she herself is not a great person. Amber Heard, of course, accused Johnny Depp of being a monster, an abuser, all of these disgusting things to her during their marriage, and that virtually ruined his career. But she, as we now know, sliced off his fingertip. She had verbally abused him and had even said, "People will always believe me over you because I'm a woman." It is disgusting to see someone use their gender as like a trump card, as a way to get out of an argument or say, "I'm gonna win because of my gender." That's gross. That's toxic. But now, a new report is declaring Emilia Clarke is replacing Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2. Now, this has been a rumor for a while because a petition had started from fans of Johnny Depp. And of course, people who didn't want to see Amber Heard in Aquaman 2, there was a petition that came out for people saying basically, let's replace Amber Heard in Aquaman 2 and let's replace her with Emilia Clarke. They're not, super similar looking, but they have the general same look. Like, Emilia Clarke, I'm sure, could put on the red wig and, put some color contacts in, and she'd look like a decent Mera, I'd like to think. But now apparently a new report is saying that it's actually real and it's actually true and this is happening. So it says an article in Forbes seems to confirm Emilia Clarke is playing Mera in Aquaman 2 and not Amber Heard, but the piece is not about the movie. Now, we don't know if this is real, even if it's coming out of a Forbes article. A writer could have been just a really bad journalist and not have researched enough and just saw headlines and was like, oh my gosh, I remember that from a year ago. So it could be fake. It could be because of bad journalism. It could be because of bad researching. It could be real. It could be real. But take it with a grain of salt still, because it's not officially confirmed. But it says the piece is written by Keith Flamer, a lifestyle writer for Forbes, and covers Clarke in the sale of her $4.4 million Venice, California home, and the mysterious bombshell that the actress is going to star in the DC sequel as the Queen of Atlantis appears deep within. I have a feeling, truly, that this is just shitty journalism. And, he started looking up Emilia Clarke and was trying to dig deep in Google search. It was 25 pages in, 30 pages in, where the dark shit starts happening. And he saw maybe the petition for her to replace Amber Heard, something like that. And something messed up in his mind, and he didn't double check it, or he thought maybe it'd get more clicks on his article or something. And this happened, but again, I don't know. It says he wrote, she also signed on to replace Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2. Daenerys Mera, even her full name, I'm not saying her full name because it's so long, but Emilia Clarke is a chore. The quote buried in the article randomly comes out of nowhere and no correction or retraction is printed at the end. That is one very interesting thing because there's been so much attention on this article over the past day, and yet there's still no correction. There's nothing changed. Nothing has been altered. There's no corrections. And you would think if there wasn't something correct in here that it would have been fixed by now already. But it hasn't happened. There's been no change. There's been no fix. There's been no correction. So it says it's information originating from a fairly reliable trade, but the intel is not the focus on the piece and a source isn't named. The piece is also in the wrong section, lifestyle as opposed to entertainment, to be considered breaking news. From what we've gathered in the last several months, Amber Heard is returning to make Aquaman 2, and Warner Brothers is not inclined to get rid of her. She is a domestic abuse survivor in the eyes of the and worthy of a spin-off film, especially when DC Films doesn't have as many leading female action heroes as Marvel. This is, I mean, it's true. I've talked about it. It doesn't sound like Warner Brothers wants to get rid of her. I mean, she was brought back for more filming in the Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Or the Snyder Cut, I guess I'll call it, which comes out next month. Holy crap, it comes out in only a couple weeks. And it sounded like Warner Brothers wanted to keep her. She was supposed to be in Aquaman 2. She was still supposed to play Mera. Who really knows if that's going to happen? I mean, when you have conflicting reports, it was confirmed that she was, brought on and signed to be Mera, Emilia Clarke was, now we're kind of like, what's going on? Is it real? It says, a petition calling for Heard to be fired and replaced with Emilia Clarke keeps gaining signatures, but Heard and the studio aren't taking it seriously. At least, that's the impression they give. Contradictory scoops say Warner Brothers might lessen Heard's screen time. Shut up, ad. And give Aquaman a new female companion to compete for his affections, probably Dolphin. Clarke could play that character and end up, of course, replacing Heard, taking the spotlight off of Heard, but the rumor of a character is just that, a rumor. I personally don't believe this at all. I don't think that this writer, because he doesn't have a history of entertainment news, I truly kind of think that this writer, the journalist, wow, what good journalism if this is wrong, I feel like this journalist was looking at, news about Emilia Clarke, trying to make his article longer, and this is what happened. That he saw the petition and maybe saw a rumor somewhere saying, oh, Emilia Clarke's replacing Amber Heard in, Aquaman 2, and this is the situation that's happened. There's this big misunderstanding, because it has sounded like Warner Brothers wanted to keep Amber Heard. They were standing by her. They thought that she was all innocent. She's a brave, strong, independent woman, a domestic abuse victim, and everything's fine in their eyes. Amber Heard isn't a bad person in their eyes. But of course, that's the end of the article, and that's all that I really had to discuss with that topic, truly. There's not really any information besides this article that did come out, and on one hand, I want to believe it because it's a Forbes article, and it's information in a Forbes article, but second of all, I feel like it's very important to point out that this isn't confirmed by Warner Brothers, by Amber Heard, by Emilia Clarke. This wasn't even an article breaking the news. This article barely referenced it except for one single line. I don't believe it, guys. But maybe, just maybe, Warner Brothers has listened to all of the evidence against Amber Heard, that she abused her husband, she chopped his fingertip off, She had said, I can get away with anything because of my gender. No one will believe you're a victim. And they replaced her. And of course, that isn't cancel culture because there's legitimate evidence of a crime happening. We're talking about a crime here. We're not just talking about, like, Amber Heard doing it again, you know, making a fake tweet on social media that pissed people off. We're talking about, like, legitimate things that she's done with legitimate consequences, like chopping someone's fingertip off. But that's all that I really had to discuss during this stream. We talked about Aquaman 2 news, maybe news, rumors, speculation, kind of news. The Illinois representative wanting to ban all violent video games to curb violence. The Google Stadia news with Journey to the Savage Planet being broken and nobody fixing it. And the Seven Seas, or I should say Seven Seas, English, admitting to heavy-handed censorship of 2 of their series. For the next couple of minutes, guys, I will answer any questions or topics you guys may have, you know, that you guys might want to ask me, that you guys might have for me. I should word that better. If you guys have any questions or topics for me to discuss, put them in the chat now. I'd be happy to answer them. Virtue signaling is more important than evidence. Yeah, true. I doubt that Warner Brothers wouldn't do that. I don't think that Warner Brothers would fire her. I don't think that Warner Brothers would. They've stuck by her the past, what, 2 years now that this has been going on? They've stuck by her. I truly don't think that they're going to fire her. I think that they're going to stick with her all the way. They've already gone in. They've already made their decision. I'm going to be honest, you guys. I'm not really a big fan of Emilia Clarke. I know a lot of people really love Emilia Clarke. I think she's a mediocre actress. I really do. I think that some of Game of Thrones was good. I think that she did do a pretty good job with Game of Thrones, but everything else she's been in that I've watched her in, I didn't like. And I mean, even Game of Thrones to a certain extent, I didn't think that she did that amazing. I mean, I don't want to anger people too much, but like, they'd just be taking one mediocre actress and replacing her with another mediocre actress. I mean, maybe we could, like, I don't know, step up. Like, at least, I was gonna say, at least Scarlett Johansson has kind of a wide variety of different roles she's played. But is Scarlett Johansson a step up? I don't think so. I feel like Scarlett Johansson's kind of... I feel like it's Amber Heard, then Emilia Clarke, then Scarlett Johansson. Nah. Amber Heard was pretty bad in The Stand. I don't know if you guys watched The Stand, the Stephen King show. They just did the miniseries on it. That was a great show. Guys, can I also just say, can we fucking get some other sci-fi, horror, dark, any kind of writing that's not from Stephen King? Literally everything's Stephen King right now. We have Castle Rock Season 1, Castle Rock Season 2, we've got The Stand, we've got... What's that other movie he just put out? He just put out another movie. Like, everything right now is Stephen freaking King. Stephen King, he's crazy. Stephen King is bonkers right now. We've got the It movies over the past couple years. Yeah, The Stand. They're putting on TV another series about The Shining. You know, they're doing, it's all just Stephen King right now. I like Stephen King, don't get me wrong. Like, I like his writing. Like, he's an SJW, but I like his writing, and that's very important to me. But, like, everything right now is Stephen King. What's this? All this sounds cool. Oh, it's Stephen King. That's why it sounds cool. Everything is Stephen fucking King. So, yeah, It Chapter 2. They did Castle Rock Season 1 and Season 2, 11/22/63. Also Stephen King. I mean... everything's Stephen King. I don't know. Don't ask me. That would require creativity. You demand too much from Hollywood. Yeah. The new one? The new one what? The new Stand? Yeah, they did The Stand. They redid it. It just finished like a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. It was good. The Stand was good. I like the actors. The Stand, the series that was in development since 2011, or they started planning it in 2011 and only just came out like last year in like November. Whoo! No thanks. Vera, are you interested in Starfield? I am. I hope that Starfield comes out and it's good. Do I have any hope for it? Nope, not really. But I hope that it comes out and it's good. I will buy it. At least right for now. For now, I will buy it. Now, if that will stay that way, I don't necessarily know. Because we know how new games are. But I think that for right now, I'm planning on buying it when it comes out. You know, I like a lot of Stephen King's work. I really do. But everything original right now is Stephen King. Everything coming out, it's all him. The thing with Emilia Clarke is that she's not the best actress ever, but she's charming, charismatic, and appears to be a legit good person. Okay. If you say so. I mean... I don't like her. I mean, if you say so, yeah. That's what dreams are made of. I'm glad you like her. I just think she's a mediocre actress. And, the thing is that I'm an actor, gets paid to act. So, like, you're saying she's charming and charismatic. Well, she's an actress, so that's why. Maybe she is a genuinely good person. I'll buy it after watching reviews and gameplay. If it works and doesn't have 16 times the detail. Yeah, I mean, if Starfield comes out and it's good, that'd be amazing. I really hope so. I would love for Starfield to be good. But who knows if it will be good. Doctor Strange, written by Stephen King. Yeah. Journalists wanted Chun-Li in the new Mortal... Yeah, they wanted Chun-Li in the Mortal Kombat movie. How dumb. How freaking dumb. Who would you like to see as Mera? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that Emilia Clarke would be the worst choice. I just think she's not bad. I just feel like she doesn't bring anything good to the table. And I've seen most of the stuff that Emilia Clarke's in, and she hasn't been in like a ton. But she's been like okay. Lovecraft, what about Lovecraft? Maximum Cthulhu? I could use some more Cthulhu, honestly. I don't stand for censorship, but I don't care for too many Japanese titles for games. Hey, fair enough. Like, not every game's gonna be for everyone, and if you're just not into, you know, a lot of games that are Japanese games, hey, that's your choice. Jessica Chastain? I feel like, obviously, haha, orange hair. Maybe she could do decent. Maybe she could do good. It's hard because, like, I'm not trying to, like, intentionally be like, who can we replace Amber Heard with? Because she's not going to be replaced. But it's a shame that Amber Heard gets away with abuse. That's all I'm going to say. Nigma, I'm gonna remove that message because it could be seen as spoilers. Let's not put any spoilers in the chat. Hold on a second, you guys. My YouTube dashboard's messing up. Well, I guess I'm gonna be ending stream in just a minute anyway, so I guess it doesn't necessarily matter if my YouTube dashboard is messed up, to be honest. So, I guess, guys, that will be where I wrap up stream. Tomorrow evening, let me get my handy-dandy calendar out just to make sure it's tomorrow. Guys, I'm losing track of days. I think that I'm going crazy. Like, I legitimately think I'm going crazy. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, just like the time I started streaming tonight, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be live streaming some Apex Legends with Oron and Pepper for a couple of hours. We'll probably stream for like 3 hours. We'll be playing some Apex Legends. Maybe if you guys want some Call of Duty. Most likely just Apex Legends, though, because we have fun with Apex Legends. But tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, I'll be doing some Apex Legends, which will be very fun. I'll probably be talking about a bunch of topics as well, like I usually do with gameplay. That's not something like a story game or story-driven game. I don't know what topics we'll necessarily discuss tomorrow evening, but I know that we'll be streaming, so make sure to stop by for that. If you guys are not already part of our Discord, please make sure to join it. We're very active there. I tag you all when I go live in case YouTube doesn't notify you of the live streams. I also post my videos there. I don't tag for everything, though. I try not to spam pings too much. If you guys enjoyed the live stream, please make sure to give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way. Check out the links in the description if you want to support the channel. Follow me on Twitter. Mine's, like I said, join our Discord. No Parlor. I keep wanting to say Parlor. Still no Parlor. Also, if you want to support long term, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month. But thank you all so much for stopping by, and have a fantastic evening, everyone.